Hospitality Meets is brought to you by RotaCloud, the simple workforce management software for hospitality teams. RotaCloud lets you create and share rotas, record attendance, and manage your team's annual leave, all in less time than it takes to make a brew. It can also make life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request holiday, and even pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be. Running a hospitality business means juggling endless payments from suppliers to staff, all while keeping cash flow in check. That's where Apron helps. With Apron Bill Pay, you can manage every supplier payment in one place, approve and schedule bills, and sync automatically with Xero or QuickBooks. And with the Apron card, your team can spend easily while you stay in control and earn rewards on every purchase. Learn more at getapron.com. Welcome to Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street, where each week we take a light-hearted look into the stories and individuals that make up the wonderful world of hospitality. Today's guest is James McComas, General Manager of the quite magnificent Champneys Eastwell Manor. Coming up on today's show, James tells us an advantage of being tall.
Yeah, maintenance love me for light bulbs.
Phil lets his mind run away. I mean, there's so many things going through my head, I'm not going to say any of them out loud. And James speaks the truth, we all know.
Anybody who's worked in hotels for a long enough time will have plenty of naked people stories.
All that and so much more as James chats us through his epic journey so far. It's always a pleasure to spend time with James, and he drops leadership gold and superb stories throughout. So please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give us a like and a share wherever you can. Enjoy. And a massive Hospitality Meets welcome to the tallest man that I know, and that is James McComas.
Phil, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
Very well. It's good to see you. It's been a while. It
has been a while. Yeah, indeed. I totally know that that's all on me. So
no, you are a busy and important man.
Well, busy is certainly correct. Let's reserve judgment on important for later in career. But I appreciate I was completely heightist right at the beginning of the podcast. Thought I would just get that out of the way. You are the tallest person I know.
But I'm used to it. It's fine.
Yeah, indeed. How tall actually are you?
6'5".
6'5". Okay.
It's too tall. It's just the height that door frames get in the way.
Ah, right. Yeah, well, that's quite tall.
Which is it's annoying, especially working in a country house with low doors.
I can only imagine. Yes, and actually, this is probably a first for the podcast. I think normally we go straight into weather, but we've just gone straight into height. So
yes, straight into restrictions. Yes.
Yeah. Indeed.
It's a challenge for sure. But maintenance love me for light bulbs. So.
Oh, very good. Yes, let's see. Everything has its purpose. You know your place. So you've already kind of alluded to you're in a country house hotel, but which one and what is it that you do?
So I'm at Eastwell Manor, part of the Champneys Group. We are a country house hotel and spa down in Kent, just outside Ashford, in a little village called Borton Lees. We are a beautiful 55-acre site with a 16th century manor house, a 19th century mews accommodation, and a spa building. And I'm the general manager. I get to come to work every day and take accountability and run the place, which I am enormously grateful for and proud to be able to do.
Fantastic. Well, you have to say that in public, don't you? So
Yeah. But it's also true, which helps.
It's also true, yes. I've known you for a few years now, and it definitely feels like it fits you. Despite the door frames don't fit you.
Despite the door frames, yes.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
It does. There's lots of outside space to be able to stretch my legs, which is helpful.
Very good. Right. Well, let's we'll talk about Eastwell again through the fullness of the discussion, but let's go all the way back to the beginning of your career. How did you get into hospitality in the first place?
How did I get into hospitality? So it would have been nearly 26 years ago now, which scares me a little bit.
You don't look that old, James.
Well, you're too kind.
I wasn't being serious.
I was 15 when I got into hospitality, and I was having a little bit of a quarter-life crisis, a bit of a teenage crisis about not knowing what to do with my life, because I'd established at that point that I didn't want to go into the army, which had always been what I thought I would do. I grew up on army bases. My dad was in the army.
Right.
His dad. It was almost a little bit preordained, and I'd got to the point where I had decided I didn't actually want to do that, but oh my God, I didn't know what I did want to do. So I was having a chat with my dad in the kitchen on the army base and having this conversation. And he said, "Well, look, why don't you try the hotel?" There was a hotel down the road. It was a Best Western called the Royal Chase Hotel in Shaftesbury in Dorset. And he said, "Why don't you try going down there for a bit of work experience? We'd just come back from holiday. We'd enjoyed the hotel in Corfu, I think it was." So I said, "Yeah, why not? Let's go give that a shot." And I duly went down for work experience. I did 2 weeks of work experience in the summer holidays, just before my GCSE year, I think it would have been. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. There was a management couple there called Stuart and Jackie, and I spent 2 weeks bouncing between housekeeping and conferencing and events,
Right.
which for a 15-year-old boy was not, certainly the housekeeping side of things was not where I expected to be spending my time. But I really, really loved it. And what I loved about it was the sense of team and the sense of camaraderie and being able to go in every day. And despite having not a lot in common with the rest of the team for obvious reasons, feeling like we were all moving in the same direction, trying to achieve the same thing. They had things that they could teach me. I wanted to learn. And I really, really appreciated the time of my work experience as a result. And so I thought to myself, yeah, hotels. I'll do this. One day I'll run a hotel. And away we went from there, really. I picked up summer jobs and holiday jobs after that. I moved into food and beverage and spent a lot of my time in food and beverage for the next sort of really 10 years or so before I started moving into senior management. And yeah, I just took every opportunity I could, really, to learn and experience different sides of the industry. I moved from that hotel into a little standalone independent restaurant called Terra Firma, which was run by this absolutely crazy lady called Anna. She was great fun, but one of those like super high energy, creative types. And she had all these visions for what she was wanting to do. She was a little bit ahead of her time, really, and it would have been, gosh, I can't even think where it would have been 2000, 1999, 2000, something like that. And she was trying to launch this organic, standalone, independent restaurant in the middle of Shaftesbury, which is a tiny town in the middle of Dorset, with an average age of close to 70.
Right.
And she was just this really high energy lady. She was the chef proprietor, and sort of that really cemented my love of the service side of things and the guest interaction side of things, the recognition. And from there, I decided that I would do university. So when I failed to get my A-level results that I needed, the University of Surrey kindly still let me in. And I went to study international hospitality and tourism management.
Did they feel sorry for you? Was that what it was?
It must have been. It must have been. And definitely not because they had a brand new shiny management school that they needed to succeed.
Yes, we need
more
bodies.
Yeah, I did a 4-year sandwich course at the University of Surrey, bachelor's in international hospitality and tourism management. And during that time, the second year of that, I was abroad in Vail in Colorado at a hotel called the Vail Cascade Resort and Spa, which was this beautiful 5-star property on the front side of Vail Mountain. It was my first time ever being in a 5-star environment. I'd never been in as a guest, certainly not to work. Wasn't much of that down in Dorset at the time. And I had an amazing time there, sort of spending a lot of it again in F&B and learning the more formal side of restaurant service and conferencing and banqueting. I spent some time in overnight security, which was fascinating. It's still the only property I've ever worked in which had overnight security.
Right. Overnight security.
Yeah.
What
they had security 24 hours, but I pulled the overnight shifts because I was the placement student.
Yeah, of course.
And that was fascinating insight into human behaviour, especially around the frat party season.
Oh God, I can only imagine. Yeah, I always talk about, like, I think, like, a few people have been on the show actually and said that working in hospitality front of house should be national service, just in terms of, as you say, like, to give you the insight into the human condition and your ability to be able to respond to that and to deal with said condition. But I would go as far to say actually ramp that up and just do a stint on nights, because
Yeah.
that's a different ballgame completely.
Yeah, 100%. And it almost doesn't matter where you are doing it on nights. You can be in a city centre hotel, you can be in a beautiful 5-star resort in the middle of the mountains, you could be anywhere, and you'll still get elements of the same behaviour, the same craziness.
Yeah, who'd have thought but combining alcohol with humans would lead to,
Yeah, who
all
knew?
manner of things.
Yes, who knew? So yes, that gave me a taste of the escapades that people get up to, especially when you've got saunas and swimming pools readily available in the middle of the mountains.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even need to say anything, do you? You've just
No, we'll just leave the inference there.
You've just transported us into those places, and we've filled in our own blanks as to the sort of stuff that might happen.
So that was an amazing experience for me, and really cemented my desire to specialise in the hotel environment. So I continued with my degree. I finished that and came out of it a lot better than I came out of my A-levels, thankfully.
Do you think that's got something to do with the fact that you'd found a topic that actually ignited you, and you were kind of really interested in learning?
100%. It was partly to do with the topic and the fact that it was a genuine interest and a passion. And it's partly because of the learning style as well, because it turns out I'm not very good at learning from books. Sitting down in a classroom and trying to absorb by looking just didn't do it for me. But learning on the job, seeing, doing, making a mistake, repeating, trying again, it worked for me. And what school had taught me, to be fair, was the ability to sort of analyze and recontextualize, to then make future learnings or review and document and that sort of thing. So I came out of Surrey really well, and I'm very, very grateful for all that they did and all that they offered me. And when I was in my final semester there, I was working in the bar, working in Chancellors, which is the university bar at the time, and I got chatting to this chap in front of me, and I was behind the bar, he was in front of the bar. I was making him a coffee, and he was talking to me, and it turns out he was presenting to us later that day as from Accor hotels.
Right.
And I got talking to him. His name was Graham Ham, and at the time he was the regional vice president of human resources for Australasia for Accor.
That's a grand title.
It is. It was a mouthful, and at the time I was a bit making my coffee. Oh, great!
Yeah. Indeed. Is the president coming later?
Yeah. And so I was chatting to him, and he said, "Well, look, come by after the presentation, and we'll have a proper chat." So I did, and he ended up offering me a job in New Zealand.
Of course he did.
Yeah, which I was not anticipating at all, and put me a bit of a quandary. So at that point, I then had an offer from Marriott for their graduate program in London, which I was very excited for, because Marriott had always been a company that I thought I'd love to work with them.
Yeah.
Whatever it was about the presentations and stuff that really clicked with me.
I think their management trainee program is still about as good as it gets as well, isn't it, really?
Yeah. And then I had this offer from Accor on the table. And it was a flat role offer for a food and beverage supervisor over in New Zealand at the Novotel in Queenstown. But it came with the fact that it was in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And so I ummed and ahed for a little bit, and then decided I was going to go.
Right. Well, I mean, just pick a place that is about as far away from here as you possibly can.
Yeah, exactly.
And go with that, James.
Yeah, precisely. So I thought, you know what, let's do it. Let's go to New Zealand. So I called my mum and said, "Oh, Mum, I'm moving to New Zealand." And my father was a lot calmer than she was. But in 3 weeks later, 3.5 weeks later, I was on a plane to New Zealand.
Right. Do you think your American experience sowed a seed in your head about that?
It definitely gave me the confidence to not worry about just going.
Right.
I'd spent, after I'd finished my work time in America, I travelled around a bit. I spent, I think, maybe 3 months travelling around, doing all the usual sites, New York and LA and Texas and stuff like that. But I'd done it all on my own. So I didn't have any qualms really about getting on a plane on my own and going to New Zealand, and just thinking, well, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
I'll see what happens. I'll make some friends there. I'll do this job, and I'll be gone for a year, and 5 years later, I decided it was time to come back.
How often do I
Um,
ever hear this, that when people go, we'll go and give it a
yeah,
go
yeah,
and see what happens, and sometime later, yes.
yeah. So I ended up spending 5 years in New Zealand, most of it with our core. I did a year, or just under a year, at the Novotel in Queenstown, which was a great experience. 382 rooms, I think it was, which at the time was massive for me, and actually still is, and still might be the biggest hotel I've worked in, I think.
Right.
And right on the shores of Lake Wakatipu, which was an amazing experience. I survived 9 months before both my liver and my wallet gave out,
Right.
and I decided to follow a girl halfway across the country, up to Picton, which is the very top of the South Island. So from the hustle and bustle and the craziness of Queenstown to this tiny little village of 4,000 people, but it swells to like 16,000 in the summer because it's the point where the ferry goes between the two islands.
Right.
And I spent my time there working at Mercure, which was the yacht club, the Picton Yacht Club. And I worked my way up through F&B there, finished after a few years as the bars and restaurant manager, which I loved. And that was where I really sort of learned my junior management skills and got to grips with some of the more sort of back of house side of management, which was great. We had a fabulous GM there called Stefan Cracker, who I learned a lot from, and I'm very, very grateful to. But New Zealand started to get hard with immigration, and it was getting harder and harder to get the repeat visas and stuff like that. So I came back and wound up at a place called Ancient Hall at the time, which was just outside Oxfordshire, or just outside Oxford, near Whitney. Ancient Hall. It's now called Eastwell Manor.
Well, there we are then. Yes.
So I did 3.5 years there under Sean Bowles, who, again, I've been very lucky through my career to have some fabulous GMs.
I'd already picked this up, and as a talking point, to be honest, because you mentioned your chap in New Zealand. You mentioned also early on in your career, like working in an entrepreneurial environment with a bit of a zany influence, but none of these seem to like dull your spirit, or it was, if anything, it was the other way. And
no, exactly. Everywhere I've worked, I've been very lucky that I've always come away from them grateful for whatever I've learned. And that doesn't mean to say that every day was beautiful and amazing.
Yeah,
that's impossible,
isn't it?
There were rubbish days and days I resented and stuff like that. But overall, the opportunities to learn from these people who were my GMs or my bosses at the time massively outweighed any negative, and every time I moved and every time I found a new boss, it was just sort of re-cementing a mindset of positivity and passion that sort of carried on driving me. And Ancient was an awesome property. It's beautiful as Eastwell Manor. I've not been to see it, but I would love to go and see it, having known it as what it was. And the challenges that we had to face there from an old building perspective were legion, and some of them were awful and dirty, but most of them were hilarious and provide great stories. And I will always remember with Sean quite literally trying to push poo uphill after the old pitch and tar sewer system that fed from the mansion house up the hill. It was pumped under pressure up the hill to the main sewage run on the main road, and the old pitch and tar pipe cracked, burst.
Yeah.
And all the sewage and effluent came bubbling up under the front lawn, which was halfway up the hill. So it then started running back down the hill towards the front door.
Oh God.
And I'll never forget the evening spent with Sean trying to
that's the moment where you go, where did it all go right?
But you know what, that experience at Ancient, and it was an old building, and it was, in many ways, it was falling to pieces, but it had so much character to it, and it was one of those places that you instantly sort of emotionally engaged with when you got there, whether you were a guest or a staff member. So much history, so much character, so many foibles that you couldn't help but get a connection to it. And that's that's really what sort of started to steer me into sort of heritage buildings, country houses, and that sort of side of things, which is where I've now ended up via Hotel Van in Tunbridge Wells, where I did 4 years in my first GM slot there, which is another grade 2 listed 19th century beautiful building. Malmaison Reading in the town centre, grade 2 listed, designed by Brunel, right next to the train station, and Malmaison Birmingham. Admittedly, Malmaison Birmingham, not so much of a heritage building. An old Royal Mail sorting office, but
right.
But an amazing property nonetheless, and one I was DGM there for 2 years, I think it was, with Damien Goom as my GM, who again, amazing GM, gave me huge opportunity to really sort of take the operation and run with it, and set me up really well for life as a GM. So I'm very, very, very grateful for Mal HDV as a group. To be fair, they served me really, really well over 8 years, and to have stayed with them for 8 years and come out stronger and more passionate and more energized as I came into Champneys 5 years ago. They did me very well. I'm very, very happy with them.
Yeah, well, and the rest is history. Thanks very much. Cheers. Goodbye.
Yeah, and now it's Eastwell.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I'm not going to let you off that easy anyway, but there's a lot to unpack within. I've been making notes as we go through, so now I will test you on everything, of course.
Sure.
But, no, I mean, where to start? I mean, let's just focus, I suppose, on Hotel de Van Malmaison at the time. Again, your lady in the restaurant who you said was ahead of her time. I think HDV and Mal were ahead of their time in that moment.
Yes.
That they came on board. They were just, for me, they just started to speak like hoteliers as to let's fix the hotel problems by using a hotelier's mindset, which is how do we give our guest a great experience? That's but how do we also give our team a great experience at the same time? And that weirdly felt quite groundbreaking at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, it probably was. I never had the opportunity, unfortunately, of working with the guys the original guys from Malmaison and Hotel de Van. By the time I came in, they'd both just been sold to KSL and then on to Fraser's. And there was I hadn't seen life pre KSL in the group, but there was definitely a sense of change then with the way they went about running the properties and investing in properties and sort of changing the commerciality. But certainly at a brand level, that focus on, particularly on the guest experience, never wavered. And we were obviously held very much to account on things like reviews and that sort of thing. And you would to dread getting the Mal feedback email come in if something had gone sideways, because you knew that the COO would be straight onto your case. But that was my first environment where things like the mad moment concept and tiny little touches sort of really came into focus, and being given the autonomy across all the properties to just take an opportunity and run with it, to do something special for a guest with whatever information it is that you found out about them, whether it's their reason for staying or the fact that it was a birthday or something like that. That was one thing that was a noticeable difference from my previous group experience. Admittedly, it was over in Australasia, to where I was with Mal and HDV, and really injecting that sense of personality into hospitality, I think is what they did so well.
5-star hospitality means having the right people in the right place at the right time, and that's exactly where RotaCloud can help. RotaCloud is the online platform that makes planning rotas, recording attendance, and managing annual leave easy. Its simple, drag-and-drop interface lets you create and share rotas with your team in minutes, while our built-in budgeting tools mean you'll know exactly how much you're spending on staffing before sending the rota out. RotaCloud also makes life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request time off, and pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be.
So let's double down on two things restaurant owners like you are loving about Apron. First, the Apron card. If you run a restaurant, you know the pain of petty cash, missing receipts, and chasing down spend. The Apron card gives you full control, set limits, track every purchase, and earn up to 1% cashback or rewards on every spend. It's free to issue the first cards, simple to use, and gives you the control you need. And here's another one that makes a big difference. Paying by card. Even if your supplier doesn't accept cards, you can still pay them through Apron and earn rewards on every pound. For example, if you pay £25,000 worth of supplier bills by card, you could earn enough Avios for a return flight to the US, all with the spending you already do for your business. To find out more, head over to getapron.com. Yeah. And as you say, I suppose that all of these things have prepped you into, being ready to, if you're ever ready to take on a GM's appointment, right? I mean, it's like that old analogy of school, where I'll take my own story as an example here. I breezed through in Scotland standard grades as it was at the time, and as soon as we hit higher levels, this step up was massive, and I realised that I had to apply myself a little bit more. I actually didn't, but reap what you sow in that regards. But yeah, same principle when you take that step up. I don't think we speak about this enough, really, because it's from a leadership perspective, the dynamic's different, isn't it? I mean, from being an ops manager into a GM.
Yeah, it's that it's that sense of accountability and responsibility, ultimately. And there's all sorts of cliches about it being lonely at the top and stuff like that. But I think the reality is that the step up from ops manager or DGM or whatever that 2IC role is into GM is significant, and it should be significant. It should feel like a stretch for people, because it's always going to be a massive learning curve. We know that as an industry, we're not an industry where you can possibly just learn off a checklist and then be ready for the next level. There's too many situations and too much human behavior that you've got to try to get to grips with for that ever to be feasible. And so we may be guilty of trying to focus too much on saying, right, you're now ready for that GM role, or and that phrasing can, I guess, put you at risk a little bit of complacency.
I'm ready, man. Yeah,
I'm ready. I got this, bang. And the reality is, the vast majority of people stepping into their first GM role are going to wind up on their arse at some point.
Yeah,
and that's not reflective of them being a bad GM. It's just reflective of the fact that it's a big step up to being, responsible and for all intents and purposes solely responsible for the commercial and the people and the outreach and the physical and the facility and all of these different elements, which you just won't have been before. Because if you are, what's your GM be doing?
Yeah, indeed. And I suppose the critical part of that is that is an inevitable part of anybody stepping up, not even just at GM level, right? Yeah. I mean, from the first time that you're a waiter and you step up into a supervisory role, from the first time you step from a supervisory role into a management role, and all of these come with a level of discomfort that you should expect by actually making the step up. The critical thing, and I come back to what you were talking about earlier on, is how important it is that there's a support network for that individual in that moment. Because, you step up to GM and you've got an owner who just is, demand, and doesn't actually take into consideration the human element of the demands that are being put on you before you've necessarily got the skill set and confidence to excel. Then, it is that moment where somebody could then say, well, I'm not ready for this, despite what other people might think.
Yeah.
And you could really do harm to people's confidence in that moment.
Yes, 100%. And making sure that whether it's an owner or whether it's a regional ops or whatever it is providing constructive support. It's important to note the other side of that is that the absence of criticism is not the same as provision of support. And certainly it's been apparent on occasions with some people that I've known step into GM roles that being left alone is great to a certain extent. But if you're being left alone and you're not being supported or guided through your mistakes, but equally you're not getting in trouble, in inverted commas, then you're equally at risk of checking out and failing to develop. So senior leaders need to be aware that provision of support is not just the absence of negativity; it's the active sort of input of construction or coaching or however you want to phrase it.
Yeah. Well, and you also you want the person to make mistakes, right? But be comfortable with that. Yeah. And then, because it doesn't really matter how long you're a GM, there's going to be new scenarios that will come up that you've not had experience in until it happens. You could do that for 60 years and still on the final day of your career have something that you've never come across before.
Yes.
Which in itself is, kind of the point, right? It's not necessarily about knowing the answers to everything, but it's knowing how to attack a problem. And with confidence, and to
how to adapt, how to change perspective, how to reflect and move on. And there's all sorts of examples out there, but the simplest one is watching a toddler learn to walk. And it's not to say that you can compare GMs to toddlers, but
well,
okay, sometimes maybe. Falling on your rear end occasionally. That's just part of the learning process, and once you got the hang of walking, then you'll try running, and then you're going to trip over your own feet a few times, and then we can carry that analogy on forever. You get the point.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to come back to your overseas experience as well, in terms of obviously America, New Zealand, UK, all very different marketplaces. So I suppose there's two questions here. In terms of what do you think that's brought to you, just in terms of, even from the human perspective, being able to see different continents and the way that they do things. But also, I've completely forgotten what the second point is. So we're just going to have to go with that first point.
Let's go with the first one. And if you remember, let me know.
Well, indeed. There's a high chance I won't. But
what's the travel brought to me? It's an understanding of different cultures, empathy, the ability to enjoy the variety and the different ways people go about things, and tolerance, ultimately, tolerance and patience. The three cultures are very different. The American market, especially in the Vale Mountain market, very wealthy, a lot of international travel, but also a lot of internal domestic travel. So very loud, a bit brash. Money, not a problem, and that means that everything needs to be now, but also very grateful, well rewarding, very friendly, and you get to see both sides of that. And the New Zealand markets, in comparison, almost all of it international travel, wide variety of sort of budgets and wealth and stuff, and much more of a lack of, I guess, from the traveller's perspective, there was a lot less sort of certainty of their own expected behaviours, which was fascinating,
right?
Because from the service perspective, you became much more able to lead their experience, rather than in the States, where you were much more reactive to their intent. So that was fascinating. And then New Zealand as a whole, the culture within the country is just so this not weird, but this delightful mix of really fierce pride and massive amounts of friendliness.
Right.
At the time I was there, the pride in being Kiwi was sky high, and it didn't matter if you were white New Zealander or Maori. That pride and that passion was sky high. It was all sort of buoyed by the rugby success. There was so much Rugby World Cup success around for New Zealand at that time.
Yes, religion there, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah. And their tourism was on the up and up. And it was so nice to be in that environment where pride and friendliness were almost like the governing points of behavior when you got up in the morning. It wasn't about agenda. It wasn't about politics, and it was really interesting to see. It was amazing to be part of, and something that I look back on very, very gratefully. And New Zealand in particular, with that massive international sort of demand, really gave me a lot of experience in and dealing with so many different cultures and trying to assimilate on the fly, almost from table to table, how to react to people's experience and wishes and lead them through that experience because they were unsure of themselves.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, really. This is the joy of travel
totally.
from a career perspective, let alone, what we experience when we're on holiday and stuff like that. But
yeah.
I genuinely, again, just from the voice of my own experience, I genuinely I cannot recommend to people enough to go and work in different countries as well, to just get a sense of the fact that there is a whole world out there, literally, and there is not one uniform way of doing things. You will pick up so much from working in other cultures as well.
Yeah. That being said, there's a lot to pick up about the differences. There's so much to pick up about the similarities as well, and the commonality between cultures and people, and the fact that, okay, fine, they might be from halfway around the world and live upside down compared to you and I, but they still need to eat. Right? They still like nice food. They still like nice drink. They're still friendly people.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter where you're from. That's, there's a unifying sort of truth there, and that's also really important to learn and understand.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Whatever the second point has drifted off into a different podcast.
It's definitely gone, has
it? Yeah. So that's all fine. We'll crack on. It'll come to me at 3:00 in the morning, obviously.
Text me, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. So we spoke about this off microphone before we switched the microphone on, but nakedness seems to have played a part in your career, James. And to be clear, let's set this tone here straight away. Not yours.
Not
yours. Yes, you have some stories. I think that.
There's been a couple of points of nudity, and I'm sure anybody who's worked in hotels for a long enough time will have plenty of naked people stories.
Oh yeah.
But you asked me on that form what one of my favourite memories was, and I put down the story about the chap from Malmaison Reading, and it was my second weekend as DGM there, and it was the first weekend that my GM had left me there on my own. Having watched me for the first weekend, he decided to leave me. It was the weekend of Reading Festival, great times, and it was the middle of the evening, I don't know, 8:00 or so. And I was at the reception desk, and the bar manager, who's a great guy, James, came up to me. I said, James, I've got water pissing out of the ceiling. Oh, God, okay, great. What's happened? Go around, have a look, and sure enough, there's water pissing out of the ceiling, through the light bulbs, through the fire detectors, everything. So
it's just what you want.
The way that the hotel was set out, it was, F&B ground floor in front, and then bedrooms all above, straight up townhouse building. So we solemnly went running upstairs, checking all the bedrooms immediately above the bar to see if we could find what was going on. And the first floor there was nothing. Second floor was nothing. Got up onto the third floor and banged on the door. No one answered, so I let myself into the bedroom, and steam billowed out into my face. Right.
Ooh, I might have found
a problem. James was in the room next door checking at this point. So I took a step in and squelched into the carpet, headed into the bathroom, which is just in the hallway on the right. And sure enough, shower was on full pelt, hot, and there was a dude naked and unconscious on the floor of the shower.
Right.
And I thought he was dead.
So yeah, well,
I had a minor panic. Yelled for James. And I really thought, great, I'm 2 weeks in. I've got a dead person and a flooded hotel.
Yeah.
That's my DGM career
Welcome
done. So James came in, we got the shower turned off, and established that he was in fact alive. He was breathing.
Good start, yeah.
Just very unconscious. But the way he'd been lying, his arse was blocking the plug. So everything was overflowing, hence
God.
why we had leaking into the bar. So well, you're going to have to get him out. And so he solemnly sort of bent down and hooked my arms under his, trying to drag him out. This very, very unconscious, wet, slippery, naked man. And just as I was waddling backwards, James trying not to laugh, and just as his feet sort of flopped off the shower tray onto the bathroom floor, it woke him up,
Right.
basically, and he sort of stirred and shook his head and looked up at me and morning. Wasn't concerned that he was in the arms of a random man.
No.
But it turns out he had been part of the support crew for Green Day, who were headlining at Reading Festival that weekend. And he'd been enjoying himself a lot.
Right. So it was a self-inflicted unconsciousness.
So completely self-inflicted. And we put him to bed, cleaned up, had to go up and check on him every 15 minutes, just in case he had
swallowed his tongue or something.
Swallowed his tongue. And now is the story. I met with the tour manager the next morning to explain what had happened because he missed his bus.
Right. So he was having a weekend then.
Yeah, he was really having a weekend. And the tour manager, to be fair, was great. There was no reticence about the damages, and he made it very clear that he would be paying for that. And that was the story. But it really it really tickled me, and I will never forget having to call my GM once I'd got him into bed, Richard, who on his second weekend out of the business with me there was receiving a call to say that water was pissing out of the ceiling. There was a naked unconscious man, and I thought he had died. So one of the more amusing stories.
Well,
I want an iPad for that. I want an iPad for that.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's your Graham Norton red chair story. Then the funny thing about that is when I was making notes for our chat today, I actually wrote down unconscious naked wet man. I do not think I've ever written those 4 words together in my entire life. So you've given me a first as well.
Yeah.
But as it transpires, that's not the only naked story that you've got.
It's not the only naked story. The other naked story was a lot scarier for me.
Well, yes, indeed. Probably context needed in this one.
It was at the city centre, the Mall in Birmingham, when I was DGM, and a couple of day use guests staying, and the girl had checked in first, and she was trying to treat the boyfriend.
Yeah, that's very different.
Yeah, who was working nights, and she checked in and made the room all cozy and romantic, and got out the twister board and set the candles around the edge of the room. And evidently, when he got in and was greeted with the view that he was greeted with, he clearly got excited and stripped in something of a hurry,
right?
Because he wound up throwing his jeans over the luggage rack into the candles.
Oh no!
The jeans caught fire. That started burning the side of the wall. Fire alarms. And when I went running upstairs with one of the sales girls behind me and burst out into the corridor by that point was about waist deep in smoke.
Right,
from the ceiling down.
Took hold.
Which absolutely, scared the pants off me.
Yeah,
scared the pants off me because I really thought that we were in very serious trouble. So went round to the door, banged on the door, opened up, and there was the dude trying to put the fire out with his jeans, which he was putting in the shower and then putting on the wall and putting in the shower and putting on the wall. Meanwhile, his girlfriend was sitting on the corner of the bed, stark naked, bawling her eyes out. Neither of them making any attempt to get out of the burning building.
I mean, yeah, like, I mean, there's so many things going through my head. I'm not going to say any of them out loud.
So having to usher them into dressing gowns and then getting them out outside and
maybe think about safety first, guys.
Carnage. And the most awkward thing about the whole situation is that on the back of the mailbox in Birmingham, which is the building that the Mail Maze was in, is BBC Midlands. So that incident at BBC Midlands off air for a little while,
Right.
which they weren't too chuffed about, understandably.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, more naked stories.
Yeah. Any more? Or no? That's fine. Two's enough. Two's enough for any podcast. But the I think that the biggest lesson there is get past being a DGM as quick as you can, because two of these stories happening as DGM, and you're still waiting for your first naked experience as a I'm not saying that out loud, Phil. That's terrible.
I don't know. There have been other experiences, not as funny though, and more scary, to be fair. So yeah. I had there was one when I worked nights. There we are again on cruise ships. One of the best jobs ever in the world, by the way. It was just such a cracking insight into the world. But the amount of times we'd get a call at 2:00 in the morning, can you head up to deck 11, starboard side? There's reports of a naked bloke walking around, and because a lot of, as I now understand it, quite a lot of men, when they've had a few drinks, like to go for a little bit of a sleepwalk. Oh right, sleepwalk.
Yeah, indeed.
I've not come across sleepwalking before.
Yeah, I had more than a few on ships, and the funny thing is that it depends on what state you get them in. But it used to make me chuckle just how matter of fact and comfortable they were with the situation. Really? And they go, I'm in cabin B235. And okay, I'll just need to confirm that with reception, but let's get you back there maybe.
Yes, for sure.
But
I think we made light of these sort of stories and stuff, but it's stories like this that help balance out the tough days, and it's the memories of these events and these stories, and being able to share them with people and bring them back to future roles and stuff and relevance that actually makes them really valuable.
Yeah. No, I mean, as you say, we jest, but the reality is that this is just part of life at the end of the day, right? And they teach you so many things about yourself, about your ability to respond to the issues that are put in front of you. And I just think it's a wonderful byproduct of this industry, the opportunity to become elite level problem solver is something we don't talk about enough.
No, exactly right. And if you can not be fazed by what's in front of you, and take a breath and then take a shot, then that's half the battle. Yeah. Because the great thing to remember when you're facing situations you've never dealt with before is that you almost can't be wrong, because you don't know what right is.
Yeah.
So you can't be wrong, right? It's like, what is it? Schrodinger's cat. The solution is there, and unless you try it, you're never going to get it.
Yeah. Totally.
I don't think that actually is relevant to Schrodinger's cat. I think that was a
I'll take it. I don't really know what Schrodinger's cat is anyway, so I was just nodding politely.
It was a concept by this what was it, physicist, I think, Schrodinger, who posited that it's a bit dark actually. If you put a cat in a box with no windows, then the cat at any one time, the cat was both alive and dead.
Okay.
Because you didn't know.
Right. Well, so that's like that physics concept that if a tree falls over in a forest, but nobody hears the noise, is it actually making a noise? Yeah. Same principle.
Yes. Yeah. Probably a better one, to be fair. Less dark and morbid.
Nobody's dying in my one. But I don't even know if either of them are relevant. But we're now philosophizers and physicists on this.
Philosophizers.
Yeah. That's not the word, is it?
Or philosophers.
Or philosophers, yeah. Philosophizer. That's better. Excellent. Look, it's a total joy to know you and see your career, and now learn a little bit more about it as well. I have promised you I will get down to Eastwell Manor. I will get down to Eastwell Manor at some point.
You should do. We'd love to see you.
And wish you guys all the very best with the future, whatever that may look like.
Thank you, and to you as well, Phil. And maybe you'll hopefully we'll see you up in the top 10 of those podcast listing ratings.
Well, tell everyone you know and get them listening, and tell all them, and so on and so forth. And then maybe Stephen Bartlett's in danger.
Absolutely.
I don't think he is. But...
Perfect.
Nice one. All right. Take care.
Phil, thanks very much.
Cheers. And there we have it. James with stories you simply cannot unhear, and leadership lessons you absolutely should. What an absolute wild ride, and what a cracking journey he's had so far. A massive thanks to him for joining the show. We will of course be back next week with another awesome journey from hospitality, so have yourselves a cracking week, and I'll see you then.